Hey guys, all right, it is Friday's newsletter time. So what we're going to do is, and we've been talking about this for the last week or so, we're going to do a continuation of this big sign that I made the board of last Friday. So remember, this is a 12 by 24 that I made for those people back east. Now they want the same thing in a version that is, now I figured out this real size. It's 22 by 40. So I did the lamination, you guys saw that last Friday. So now I've cut my board to 22 by 40 by 40. 22 by 40, right? Is that what I said? Yeah, 22 by 40. So now what I'm going to do, first thing I'm going to do is round these corners. And you guys have seen me do this before, but you may be new to the channel, and there's a lot of different ways you could do it. I could do it with a Sawzall, the way I can do shapes. I can do it that way. In this particular instance, I'm just going to do it with my belt sander and a real rough belt. I use 36 or 40 grit. So here's the way I go about it, get my corners. Now you can do this again a lot of different ways. This is just a 6-inch circle that we have a pattern for. And you can lay a circle down and hit it real quick with your black spray. But in this particular instance, just for neatness, I am just going to draw it with a pencil. So all I'm doing is just lining that up and draw my rounded corners. And then we'll take the belt sander to it and round those corners. So I'm going to take you through the process of the way I, hopefully this whole thing, and maybe take another couple weeks to get it all done. We're definitely going to get all the layout done today on camera. So here's what I'm going to do. Hopefully you can kind of stick with me, Dan. Let me clamp this thing down. See if I've got enough room to go around that whole thing. Just going to clamp it to my board. Plug the sander in. That always helps. Let's see if we got power now. We do. So we're just going to round this corner off here. So now, bear in mind, if you do decide to do it this way, bear in mind, guys, you do want to keep your sander from doing this too much. You want to try and keep it straight up and down, and you'll be able to look at the board and see that it's pretty square. The other way that you can do this, obviously, if you've got a really good jigsaw, you could take off most of that with a jigsaw and then go back and touch it up with a sander. It's just, this redwood is pretty soft. You can see it goes through it pretty fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of these four corners off off of camera. Then when I come back, then we'll get into putting the edge on it and do some layout. So we'll be back in just a sec. Bye. All right, we are back. So if you can see here, if you can pan down, Dad, I've got all of the corners are all done. They're a nice round. The reason I picked that 6-inch circle, I could have gone with a smaller diameter circle like a paint can or something, but I really wanted a rounded look on the corners in proportion to the old sign. So all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to do the edge, just going to put a heavy chamfer on. This is our 45-degree chamfer bit with a 1/2-inch bearing on the bottom, just a standard bit. So I've got it set, I think, at about the right depth. Let's just see what it looks like. Nope, that's not deep enough. Flip it over. That's the front side. You can see I've got that little non-stick thing. It slid around on me a little bit, but not bad. So now I'm just going to back it off and put a slight chamfer on the back side. That should be about right. Okay, so I am going to now, we're going to shut the camera off and I'm going to get ready to do some layout on this thing and show you how I'm going to do the layout and to try and pretty much match up this. I've already got my letters ready to go, and this the layout that I did, I remember doing it, and it's just something I drew, which is very seldom. I don't draw very much, but I had it kind of pictured in my mind. This is actually something that I didn't actually steal from somebody else. I had it pictured in my mind when I was figuring out how to make it, because they gave me license to do what I wanted to. And so I'm just going to try and emulate that and do the same kind of thing on camera here. So anyway, we'll be right back, and I got to set up and put an arch on those letters and make sure it's the way I want it. So we'll be back in just a sec. All right, we're back. So we are going to figure out the layout here, guys. Now, again, this is probably something that I've covered before, but what we're trying to emulate, again, we've got to have that arch on both those lines there. So what I do, this is the way I draw large arches. My board is 40 inches long, and I got a 48-inch yardstick here, or I guess ruler. Yardstick, I guess, would be 36, wouldn't it? So it's a 48 inch. So how I get the balance is I have figured out I want my bottom line, I want this fairly close to the bottom of the sign, because it's got to have a cloud around it, because it's going to be outset. So then I made a mark at the top because I wanted to have balance, so I made a mark up here. And then I know my cloud is going to be inside there. So I know that my top letters are going to be about there. And then the line, and those will be on an arch, as will this. And then my bottom line will be on an arch somewhere around there. So what I'll do is I will make a line. I'll make a mark at the beginning. This is the center of the board at 20 inches. I'll make a mark at, say, about 11 1/4 somewhere right there. That'll be the top of my arch for that bottom line there. So I have already kind of figured it out, and I put my clamps, I measured up a certain amount on both sides the same, and I made some pencil marks here, and then I put these clamps there so they're locked in. Now all I'm going to do is just kind of split that. This is my 24-inch mark. That's about my 20-inch mark. Now all I'm going to do is just bend that up. Hold that there. And then that is my arch. That way I know I've got a perfect arch. Now that top line, I'll probably just kind of follow that same arch. So I want this thing, because I'm going to need room to put that tree around the outside. I made marks at about 4 inches on both ends, and I want to be inside of that. So I'm just going to lay this top line out. And I made these letters, I think they're about 4 inches tall. 3.5, excuse me. They're about 3.5 inches tall. But they're Clarendon bold. Or I think they call them Clarendon black. Make sure my S's aren't upside down. And then that will, now I've got to figure out how far I am from the end here. So I'll make a mark at about 15 and 15. And again, I'm just going to kind of eyeball this to try and stay on that same arch. We got a pig outside the door grazing. That's what that noise is, guys. Sorry. There's some background sounds there. Look about right, Dan?
Yeah.
It looks like it's pretty much on that same line there.
Might be a little far apart on the THE.
Well, at the bottom and the top.
Yeah. Looks good from here, son.
Yeah, that looks all right. Now let's do this bottom line. Let's see, 14. No, that's not right. Probably about 15 and 15. That should just about work. So remember, the reason the big line, because I have to draw the tree underneath here. So I have to leave plenty of room in between that bottom line and that copy there. Looks. Check my spelling. One more time. THELASTRESORT. That looks right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mask off part of this bottom here so that when I draw my tree and my branches and stuff, it's I've got.
That's just to keep the ink from covering it. Is that why you're doing it?
Yeah,
or
the primer.
to keep your layout primer.
Yeah, my black
I
spray.
keep saying ink. I know you're using primer.
Yeah, I could use the ink or the Rust-Oleum black primer that I like. The black primer is a little bit less expensive, so I'll use that whenever I can, which is almost always.
I still use the ink, but then I don't carve as many signs as you do.
Right, I know you do. And I like the ink. It's probably a little bit better. I use the ink more if I'm carving the pine, because the pine tends to have more propensity to bleed, whereas the redwood really, I never have that issue on the redwood. That's pretty good. That gives me all of that pretty much covered there. I think I'll go ahead. Masking tape is not that expensive. I think I'll just go ahead and mask off a little bit more. Oops, I think I just moved my E. Sounds like the dogs are playing out there.
Yeah, our new Magnum Mastiff, he's out there jumping up and down on the boards out there in our gym.
That's what that thundering sound is.
Yeah, might as well be a horse.
Yeah. Yeah, he is something. He is something. I imagine you guys will see a lot more of him. He seems to like the camera. He's settling in pretty well. Alright, I think that's probably good enough. Alright, so now I've already shook this up a little bit. I think I really don't want to spray my clamps, so I'm going to take those off of there. I've already shook this up before the camera started rolling. This dog's selling to killing each other out there.
They're just playing.
Yeah. Kind of a weird day today. We've got actual rain outside. Middle of May, we got rain. Almost like monsoon season is trying to start early. This thing is kind of acting goofy. Alright. That looks pretty good. Here, you can pull that tape off of there. Normally wouldn't pull these letters off of there with them being wet, but that's alright. A little black on my fingers is no big deal. So there is that. Now,
Hey, you want to turn that around so they can...
yeah. I've got to set up on those 2x2s so I could use those clamps.
Yeah, that gives them a good... hold up that back edge of it. Let me zoom on it.
Now all I have to do is draw that tree around there. The tree and the limbs.
Okay.
And I'm just going to let me work on that a little bit. Now I just noticed something that you'll see. You can see right, well, you might not be able to see right at the bottom of this 7. I've got a knot that's actually got a little indentation. And I sprayed that with black. Normally I would have masked that off. Not to get black in it, but however I do know that I'm going to make my cloud, and when I make my cloud, you guys will probably see me carve it. When I make my cloud, I'm going to bring that cloud down far enough that I'm going to take that out, and that's going to be part of the background, so I don't have to worry about it. So that's the kind of thing you kind of need to pay attention to, what everything is going on with the board. I've got a little knot here at the end. I don't know if you can get that on camera, Dan. That's something that I'll need to pay attention to. I've got a little bit of knot, so I've got two choices on that. I wouldn't want to spray that black the way it is. I'll either putty that, make sure that black can't get down in there, or I'll mask it off. Chances are I'll throw some putty, because I know on the back side of this thing, I've got some places I got to putty anyway. you know, I've got some, this is the back side, so I've got some places I got to putty back there too, because I don't want any of those really to remain like that. So I'll putty those up. But now let's see if I can at least try and start drawing this tree a little bit. All right, so I know I need, where's my square at? Oh, there it is. I want the bottom of my tree, like the bottom roots and stuff, to be somewhere around that mark. So I'm just going to kind of make a line there, and that will kind of give me a starting point of where I want my silly dogs. So now what I'll do is give me, looks, in order to match this, I got to come out, I'm going to make a mark at about 12 and about 12. I'm big on balance, you guys, in case you didn't know that. I'm really big on balance. So I'm just going to kind of start drawing this thing. I know the center is at 20. And I'm kind of just winging this, guys. That'll be about the center of my tree. And this is really unusual for me. This is something I normally don't do, just because I am definitely not an artist. Anyway, so that's kind of how I'm going to do that. And then this is just going to be kind of a root thing. The neat thing is I can just make it look, hopefully, however I want it to look. So I'm just going to, from there, give you kind of an idea. Then I'm just really going to end up drawing the rest of the branches, pretty much try and stay with this type of motif and bring those branches
Hold
up.
it there, let me zoom in on it.
So I'll draw these, and I'm not going to do it on camera because you know, you guys can kind of see, but I'm going to draw these. So then from here I'll just come around and bring that in and start drawing some of these branches and bring it up through the letters, kind of like what, to try and emulate this as much as I can with this. But these I wanted bigger and bolder letters than what I did last time. So fortunately my customers, because they're so happy with my sign before, they said, hey, whatever you want to do that kind of matches the motif before, but I really like the bolder letters. I think it'll show up a lot better. So that's about it for today, you guys. I'll go ahead and finish this up as far as the layout on it, and then next week we'll get into the carving, and we should be able to get this all wrapped up in next Friday's video. Then I'll get a finish on this thing and get it shipped out. But for now, I guess that is about it. Thanks again for all your likes and shares. We sure appreciate it. Obviously, as always, questions, anything we can help with, let us know. We've got some great collaborations going on. We have had some great things happen this week. So you guys that are on Facebook probably already know about it. But, oh, and don't forget, tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, another memory from Dad. He's got a real good one for you. You guys are going to like it. So, that's it. Everybody have a great weekend, and we will see you on Monday morning for Coffee and Questions. Bye-bye.